Hi, my name's Laura, and I'm a social work student at Bradford. And I just want to let you know that I'm a mandated reporter. So anything that, would be harming yourself or anyone else, I would have to report. But otherwise, our session today will be confidential. And if for some reason I feel like, if there's something I'm going to need to report, I'm going to let you know in the moment. Um, or within our next session. But yeah, so I just want to get a little information and have a better understanding of who you are and what brings you in today. So, um, do you have anything on your mind? Is there anything you came to discuss?
Um, so my husband and I have been having some issues. I like to go out to Rosie's in the casino and try to win the big money. And it's not been working out too well lately. And so he's really concerned about me, and it's caused a lot of stress with us, and told me that like I need to go get some help. So I'm kind of here as a like see what it is I need to do.
Okay. So, are you frequently going to the casino?
Um, like on the weekends, there's one that they just built like an hour or two from me. I also have kind of started spending more money on the scratchers and stuff. And, I didn't realize until he was like showing me how much money was coming out of our account that it's kind of adding up. And some things have been paid late. So, he's getting mad at me, and yeah.
Okay. Um, so how did you start with your gambling?
So we went out one night with some friends, and he's in the military, so he's kind of gone off and on a lot. And it was like a fun time, you're back, yay. And I'd been stressed from him being gone and having kids and stuff. And we went out and I won, and it was a really cool feeling. Like, I'm not, not a huge drinker. I don't, do substance like drugs or anything. But like it was a really like, you know, um, like it was just that like high of yes, I won. I won like $100. So kind of trying to get that happy feeling back, I think is where it started, because for the most part, like it's just kind of monotonous through my day. And then occasionally I'll get like scratchers and I pay $1 and I get like 15. So it's like seems like free money, but I guess it's not.
Okay. So at first, did you like go with an amount that you were okay with using?
Yeah. Yeah, I would go in and be like, "Oh, here's $50." And once it's gone, it's gone. And I've been lately making, well, $5 more won't make a difference. And then my amounts are slowly increasing. And we don't have a ton of like disposable income with kids and daycare and stuff. And I just kind of always like, well, I'll just win it back. And I guess I'm not winning it back quite the way I'm spending it. So it's just one of those like, I've not really had this problem before, but now we have like our mortgage is due, and I accidentally spent like half of the mortgage payment. So we're going to be late, and then it's just kind of like screwed up the budget for the rest of the month because now we have to like pull money from something else. So I've stopped going, but I just kind of like am feeling down, and I'm not like I don't like get happy like I was when I would win.
Okay. So what is did, your husband's in the military, and
Mhm.
is he at home now? It didn't sound like.
He's at home now. He's in the guard, National Guard, so he's not like on a base or anything, but there are times where he's got to go to trainings or if he gets activated for like stateside missions where he has to go pretty suddenly, he can be gone for like a couple of weeks here, a week or two there, maybe a month or two. So like um sometimes we get notice and then sometimes like with the hurricane, we don't get notice and he's just gone the next day and I've got to figure out, work and children and all of this at a pretty last minute type thing. So that leads to more stress and just being exhausted. And then it was just like a fun thing that I could do when he wasn't here because it's not like I could go out and hang out with friends when my kids' bedtime's at 8 o'clock. Yeah, can't can't leave them home by themselves. Got to be a responsible parent.
So how long would you say that this problem has been going on?
Um, Probably, I mean, we first went out with friends like, I don't know, 6 months ago, and it just, like I said, once he kind of presented like, hey, this is what your bank account looked like, I could see it was steadily like the numbers were increasing in the last 6 months. Before that, I'd never really done any type of gambling.
Okay. So before that, what did you used to do to like cope with these high stress times?
I don't know that I really had a great coping skill. Um, we're kind of isolated where we are, and because he's not on a base, we don't like a lot of my friends and coworkers, even family, like they don't get it because they've got what they picture Hollywood Army being. So, I just kind of would like stay home and, you know, watch TV or read. I don't know that that counts as a coping skill for when he's gone.
Yeah, it sounds like that that really is a coping skill is the reading and the watching TV. It's giving yourself that time to recharge.
Hmm.
Um, have you been doing more or less of that now?
Um, Probably less. I am on my phone a lot. Because like I said, the casino itself is like it's a drive. So that's a like if I can get a babysitter, my husband thought we were just going out there. We've been a time or two since as like a fun date night. He didn't really realize I was doing other stuff. But the scratchers is something, and then like you can do the slot machine apps on your phone and like put real life money and just a like, Amazon one click type deal. So I didn't really realize how much I was using. Um, and so once I would sit there and just like keep putting it in and be like, oh, reload, face, pay, and then like keep going. And I wasn't reading. I'm not really watching TV. Like it's on, but I couldn't tell you what I was in the background. It was more focusing like what was on my phone.
Um, has there ever been another time in your life where like that happy euphoric feeling has been something that you've been able to achieve with other tasks?
Um, like other times where I used other coping skills type thing.
Yeah.
Um, I like to get outside and go for walks and stuff. I've never like done the therapy thing. So, this is a first, but like I said, my husband was like, you need help and I don't really want that marriage, my marriage to end. But yeah, I would like go outside and hang out and do stuff with people.
Do you feel like you're more withdrawn now since you've started with the scratchers and going to the casino?
Yeah, I think because I didn't get like I could always make an excuse like, oh, my kids are going to bed, so I can't come over. And then I would just sit there and like either if I stopped and got scratchers on my way to pick them up or like on, like I said, on my phone with the apps and stuff. I wasn't responding to text messages from because I have friends that like check up on me and stuff and like neighbors that I could do stuff with. I just didn't. I didn't get the same, it wasn't quite that same like spike of like, yay feeling that I got when like I hit the big win or whatever.
Okay. Um, how are you feeling about your gambling right now?
Um, Kind of ashamed. Like I thought I had it under control and it was just like a fun thing to do. I think because it was just so easy to spend the money, I didn't know that I was doing it. Like I was able to rationalize, like, here's the amount I'm going to spend. And then I would just like keep clicking submit to keep winning when I kept losing. And, I've always been like the stable person. So to lose control in something like we're not going to be able to pay our mortgage on time. And that's my fault. Like that's kind of a like you feel like you should know better. So I stopped and like I deleted all the stuff off my phone and I, gave my husband my debit card. So I only have like a set amount of cash that I carry with me for like gas and emergency, like $20. Um, but now I'm just kind of like meh, for lack of a better term. Because I don't know how to like do fun things. Like that was my fun thing.
Okay. Well, that's really great. It sounds like you were able to identify your problem and um put some barriers in place that kind of help prevent your your gambling from continuing to add stressors to your life. Um, so talking about those coping skills and ways to kind of get that same happy burst. Um, sorry. Identifying things that have in the past, giving you positive return vibes is super important. So, if taking walks is one of those things, that's great, but it doesn't sound like that was something that really gave you a super burst of the same kind of happy. I'm so sorry.
Oh
Um,
no, you're fine.
um, so maybe you said spending some time with friends or family can give you something, some burst, but it's not quite the same. So have you ever been able to get that same positive feedback from any other event that you've been able to do?
Um, I started trying to like teach myself to crochet. I'm not a super crafty person. I just don't, my mind is not wired that way. But I like started learning to crochet like the little stuffy animals. And being able to like sit down and actually finish it was a really like, I made this. Like that's really cool. Um, because I think you're right. The Yeah, like positive return is a really good way to phrase it, especially with the apps and the casinos and stuff like that. Like there's flashing lights and music, and it's this big celebration when you win. So, visually you're getting all that sensory input. Um, but yeah, when I crochet and like actually am able to sit down and see the work that I put in actually come out with something like cool. I've never been able, like, I can't paint, I can't draw, can't like I'd stick figures for days. So actually like seeing something I've never been able to do, be able to do it. is a kind of burst of like, yay, feeling too.
So possibly something like crafting something with your hands where there's a start and a finish would
Yeah.
so like I'm coloring is something that some people, are able to sit down and easily do in the moment when, they have an idle moment. That helps to
Mhm.
kind of calm them and recenter. Um, I like to diamond paint. It's a silly thing. It's, just takes a little bit of space. And for me, it's like a way to be able to kind of disconnect from the things around me. But, I'm focusing on something that it doesn't require extra out of me. But when it's done, I have this pretty picture that sparkles. So, like, that's one of those things. I mean, maybe doing a crochet project and just doing something small instead of, trying to crochet
Mhm.
a whole blanket, which is going to require more energy and take longer to get to that positive feedback. Maybe
Yeah.
doing like a washcloth or, making little projects rather than doing a bigger project where you're going to get that positive feedback faster to help with that gratification.
I think that's a really good idea because like I wanted to do, one of those like temperature blankets where it's like every temperature for the like year. And I made it like 3 days. So, it's the end of the year and it's about yay big. So, but when I've done like the little itty bitty projects, I'm able to finish those and get a similar like, yay, I actually did it, as opposed to like my blanket that's, currently sitting 3 rows deep in the back of my closet.
Well, maybe taking that down to a more manageable um
Mhm.
and maybe doing temperature squares and then as you get closer you just crochet them the squares all together. So that way
That's like, yeah, that's
um
a good idea too.
yeah. So are there any other things where it's like you've been able to do something with your hands and still have that like gratification of having something finished? So crocheting.
That's about the only like, because I like having like, here's where you start and here's where you finish and here's the goal of like how you do it. So that's why I think I have problems with like just sit down and paint something. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I've never really leaned towards the craftiness, but I like to do stuff with my hands. So that's kind of why the crocheting is helpful. But no, like even cooking, like actually doing a meal and stuff, like that's a lot of moving pieces. I'm horrible cook too. So I guess that's why reading was kind of my way to like zone out and like get into something else without like, because it's so hard. It's only been a couple of days since I've gotten rid of the apps and stuff. And like, I still find myself wanting to like, well, I could just do it for like 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes, not going to be that big of a deal. And then like my husband was pretty much like, if you do this, like I'm out, I'm done. And I don't want to be the reason that we don't work, and it's just adding a lot of stress. And up until, yeah, things weren't fantastic because you know how life is, but you know, they were just normal stressors. Whereas now I've added like a whole other element that I am not a troublemaker. So it's really hard when I'm like, oh, yeah, this is kind of my fault. So I'm having a hard time with that too.
Um, in the past, when you and your husband have had conflict, how have you guys worked to move through that conflict?
Um,
You said that you
we're really we've we've been to We've done some research on some apps before on like how to talk to each other because we do have very like different communication styles. Um, but yeah, with him being gone and in the military, like the entirety of the time we've been together and raising small children, there's been conflict here and there. And I think just being able to like sit down and talk about it. Sometimes we write letters beforehand of like, here's how I'm feeling, here's why I'm feeling that way. So that way, in the moment with like emotion, like you already have everything like laid out. So that's kind of what he did for me when he was talking to me and like had the, because we have a shared bank account, like, here's all the charges, like I've noticed and I'll let you do it. But like, now when we pay the mortgage, like it ain't gonna be on time. And you can like actually like he highlighted like all of the charges and it added up to like a couple of thousand and I had no clue. So I think being able to like see it and talk without like screaming at each other is helpful. And we've learned how to do that.
So it sounds like in the past, because you said, like, I'm not normally a troublemaker. It sounds like
Mhm.
in the past, maybe it's been more you like presenting with your grievances. And so this is a new role with him coming to you with like a grievance and maybe the solution not being so simple as just being able to talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. But yeah, usually like talking about him leaving pretty suddenly and stuff like that. Like I'm usually the one like, yo, can you tell the military to get it together? Like, ha. But yeah, usually I'm the one like, oh, you're just leaving. Like, how do we make this easier? How can we put stuff in place so we already have schedules? So yeah, I'm not normally the issue. And it is weird, like you said, learning that like switching. So I think that's kind of where some of the shame is too. Like I'm the one that makes things better and takes care of things, not the one who is creating all the problems like I am right now.
So it's looking at the past conflict and maybe where it wasn't necessarily person centered and right now with you being the center of that. And it takes time to repair any kind of conflicts that we've created with something such as gambling. Like that doesn't have an instant gratification. Where like the gambling, you do get that positive feedback immediately. It can be very stressful to ourselves when we're looking at, okay, this is what I've done, this is what I've created, and looking for an instant like repair for that. Have you guys sat down and kind of come up with a plan on how you're gonna move forward? Like, I know that you said you gave him all the access to the accounts, and right now you don't really have anything but the money on hand. But what happens if you get that phone call? Like you said, there's not a lot of warning, it just happens. You're going to be
Mhm.
by yourself, and he's not going to be able to be there to support that kind of being able to manage everything. And
Yeah. We haven't. That's a really good point. Like we have what we have right now, and it's like a day by day thing. But yeah, you're right. He could get a phone call, um, and be gone in like 24 hours. So then I would have to be the person who's like managing the funds again. And it would be all like, when he's working and like doing stuff out in the field or he's out like helping with some of these natural disasters, like he's not obviously going to be able to like stop and make sure like all the bills are paid and stuff. So, I mean, we could put him on auto pay, which we do a lot of anyway, but there's still stuff like grocery shopping and things like that that come up that, yeah, I would have to be in charge of that.
do you have any ideas of how you would do
Um, no, not really. I think I may need to talk to other people because not coming, like, So I think this is like a good first step, but coming to where like peers or like a support group or something, because it's like I blinked and all of a sudden I had a problem. And from what I kind of read online, like that's not super unheard of. So maybe meeting with other people for support groups or like Gambling Anonymous or something can help learn what they've done and also get support for like people who get it. So when he goes, like, I'm not going to be by myself.
Yeah, that's great. Do you know where there are any support groups near your home?
There's some online that I've seen. This isn't a super like I think it's gaining traction, but this isn't quite like your in-person type treatment like you would see for like drugs and alcohol. So, but I have found some like virtual ones that I could do online, and they have them at like because it's all over the country, different time zones. Like I could do the later ones after my kids go to bed.
Okay. Do you, how do you feel about like setting yourself a goal that you're going to attend three groups um a week? Do you feel like that's a realistic goal for you?
Yeah, I think it could be, especially since, we're talking about doing it. Like I said, there's all hours. So I could like put my kids to bed at their bedtime and then attend like a West Coast version that would be, 8, 9 o'clock and just do it from my living room. That way my kids aren't hearing adult stuff that they don't need to be worrying about. Cause I don't ever want to like add more stress to their life either about them worrying about their mom on top of, all that else that's got going on.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't have to worry about finding a sitter or whatever for days that my husband's not here.
yeah. And it sounds like you also maybe could set a goal that you and your husband sit down and create that budget so what your finances look like. Like right now, yes, he's taking care of it, but you know that there's that chance that you're going to be responsible for handling all the finances. Do you think that if you guys sat down and discussed those finances now, maybe it could make you a little aware of, where the finances are going, even if in the moment you're not the one handling it. Do you guys currently,
Yeah, I
do you currently have a budget?
kind of we have like here's their bills and here's what we both put into the account because it's we just have every like one account for both of us that we share. But there's not a like set thing that I could see, like a spreadsheet or something to show like X amount of money coming in and X amount of going out. I just can like look at the statement, but I think I actually need to see like the allocations of where we're putting stuff. So I like the idea of like actually creating a budget and saying you have X amount of money to spend here, here, and here for these things. So that way I can do less rationalization of like, well, it's only $20. I mean, it was not. It ended up not only being $20. It was like $20 that day and then like 50 the next, and then you multiply that by 7 days a week. It was getting to be up there.
Yeah, so maybe creating that spreadsheet of, what expenses you had last month, but then creating a spreadsheet with a goal for where you want expenses this month. Maybe that
Yeah.
will be a motivator because you definitely seem to get that positive gratification from seeing those numbers and seeing like what you were able to accomplish. So maybe setting a goal of like, okay, if your grocery bill is X, you're gonna spend X. Or, for as far as like maybe making a goal for a savings and seeing that increase could be a motivator for you.
Yeah, I think it really could be like it's the same thing with talking about the savings of like seeing the little thing that I make for crochet. Like I do get a really positive feeling from being like, here's my goal, here's what I was supposed to do, and I did it. And um very goal oriented person. So actually saying like, see if we can save X amount of savings for this month. I think that I could get a pretty positive feeling for being like, I actually did that and I did what I wanted to do and completed it.
Okay. So I think that that's a great point for us to start off next month when we meet. Just seeing how well the groups and attending groups is going for you, and seeing, where you're at with being able to maintain the budget you create and the goals you're setting to where you'd like to be with that savings. We can really look at where you're at with everything when we meet next time, okay?
Okay, I like that.
All right. Thank you for meeting with me today. And if you need anything before, just reach out to me. But yeah, we'll set up a appointment for next month. All right.
All right, thank you.